Stop everything and check your pockets right now, because what you're about to hear could change your life forever. Somewhere out there, possibly sitting in your car's cup holder, buried inside an old coin jar, or hiding between couch cushions, is a simple-looking penny that could be worth over $1 million. And not just any penny. We're talking about the mysterious, incredibly rare 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin surrounded by secrets, minting errors, and stories that sound almost too unbelievable to be true. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. A worn copper coin, maybe a little dull from decades of circulation. On one side, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. On the other, the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent. Nothing about it screams fortune. Nothing about it tells you that collectors might be willing to pay a life-changing amount of money for the right version of this coin. And yet, that's exactly what's happening, because hidden within a tiny number of these 1942 pennies is a mistake. A mistake that was never supposed to leave the mint. A mistake so rare that even experienced collectors sometimes miss it. And that mistake is what turns a 1-cent coin into $1 million discovery. To understand why this coin is so valuable, you have to go back to 1942. The world was in the middle of World War II. Resources were tight. Metals like copper were in high demand for military equipment, ammunition, and communications. The United States Mint was under pressure to conserve materials, and changes were already being planned for coin production. In fact, just 1 year later, in 1943, the mint would switch from copper pennies to zinc-coated steel pennies to save copper for the war effort. But during this transition period, things weren't perfectly controlled. Different metal compositions, experimental batches, and rushed production created the perfect environment for rare minting errors, and that's where the story of this legendary 1942 penny begins. Most 1942 pennies were struck in a standard copper alloy and produced in massive quantities. Millions upon millions were released into circulation. That's why today, a normal 1942 penny without any special features is only worth a few cents or maybe a couple of dollars in great condition, but hidden among those millions are a few coins that should not exist. Some of these pennies show what collectors call doubling. This is not just a minor blur or wear from circulation. This is a distinct, visible doubling of the letters and numbers on the coin. If you look closely at the date or the words like Liberty or In God We Trust, you might notice that the edges of the letters appear duplicated, slightly offset, almost like a shadow. This doubling happens during the minting process when the coin die strikes the planchet more than once in slightly different positions. The result is a coin with a strange, almost ghost-like appearance in its design. And in the world of coin collecting, this kind of error is incredibly desirable, but here's where things get even more interesting. There are also reports of rare metallic anomalies among 1942 pennies. While most were struck in the standard copper alloy, a few coins appear to have been made using experimental or transitional metal compositions. These coins can have a slightly different color, weight, or magnetic property compared to regular pennies. Imagine holding a coin that looks like every other penny at first glance, but upon closer inspection reveals a subtle difference. Maybe it feels just a bit lighter. Maybe the color is slightly off. Maybe a magnet reacts in a way it shouldn't. These tiny details can be the difference between pocket change and a life-altering discovery. And then there's the missing mint mark. In 1942, pennies were minted in multiple locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver and San Francisco carry a small D or S mint mark just below the date. But coins from Philadelphia typically have no mint mark at all. That means a 1942 penny with no mint mark isn't automatically rare. In fact, most of them were made that way. But when you combine that no mint mark with a rare error like doubling or an unusual metal composition, you get something extraordinary. You get a coin that collectors are actively searching for. You get a coin that has been known to sell for staggering amounts of money. You get a coin that could, in the right condition, reach values that most people would never expect from something so small. Now picture this: you're cleaning out your car on a lazy afternoon. You reach into the glove compartment and pull out a handful of loose coins. You don't think much of it. Just spare change. But then one penny catches your eye. It looks a little different. Maybe the date seems slightly doubled. Maybe the lettering looks unusual. Something feels off. That tiny moment of curiosity could be the beginning of a life-changing discovery, because people have found valuable coins exactly this way, not in museums, not in vaults, but in everyday places. Old jars, forgotten drawers, garage sales, inherited collections. The kind of places most people overlook without a second thought, and that's what makes this story so powerful. This isn't about treasure buried on a remote island. This isn't about winning the lottery. This is about something real. Something tangible. Something that could already be within arm's reach, but here's the catch: you have to know what to look for. Start with the date. Make sure it clearly reads 1942. Next, check below the date. If there's no mint mark, you're looking at a Philadelphia coin, which is exactly what you want for this particular rarity. Then examine the lettering closely. Look at the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Look at the numbers in the date. Don't rush this step. Sometimes the doubling is subtle. You might need a magnifying glass or even your phone camera zoomed in to really see the details. After that, consider the coin's color and weight. If you have access to a small scale or a magnet, you can perform simple tests that might reveal unusual properties. And finally, think about the condition. Coins that are in better shape, with clearer details and less wear, tend to be worth significantly more. But even worn coins can be incredibly valuable if they have the right era. Now let's talk about the big question: in the world of rare coins, the answer is yes, but with an important caveat. The highest values are typically reserved for coins that combine extreme rarity with exceptional condition. These are the best of the best. The ones that collectors compete fiercely to own. However, even lower-grade examples of rare era coins can still sell for thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And that alone is enough to make checking your spare change worth the effort, because the truth is, you don't need to find the absolute perfect specimen to change your life. You just need to find the right coin, and that coin might already be in your possession, right now, sitting quietly, waiting to be noticed. Think about how many pennies you've handled over the years. Hundreds. Thousands. Maybe more. For most people, the answer is never, and that's exactly why these coins continue to slip through the cracks. They hide in plain sight, they pass from hand to hand, unnoticed, unrecognized, undervalued, until one day, someone takes a closer look, someone decides to pay attention, someone discovers what everyone else missed, and in that moment, everything changes. So here's what you need to do next. Don't wait. Don't assume it's too unlikely. Don't think someone else will find it first. Grab your coins. Check your drawers. Go through that old jar you've been ignoring. Ask your family members if they have spare change lying around. Visit a local flea market or a garage sale. Look where others don't, because the next $1 million penny isn't going to announce itself. It's not going to shine brighter than the others. It's not going to look dramatically different at first glance. It's going to look ordinary, just like every other penny, and that's what makes it so dangerous to overlook. So take a moment today. Slow down. Look closely. Pay attention to the details, because hidden inside something as small and simple as a 1942 no-mint mark Lincoln Wheat penny could be a story of error, history, and incredible value. A story that has been waiting for decades to be discovered. A story that could turn your spare change into something extraordinary. That story might already belong to you.